I'm gonna do something different, kind of an experiment on this channel. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know how it's gonna kind of get incorporated into all my other videos. I wanna work on some kind of side projects that are internal to Highrise. They're only a side because they're not kind of our core business. They're not Highrise. One of these ideas is very vague in my head. I mean, I know kind of what I want it to help me do, but what it looks like, you know, could it be a successful SaaS offering that we also sell? Could it morph into something bigger? Maybe. There's a really great tweet from Paul Graham, not even just a tweet, he's written about this topic multiple times, about how like the greatest businesses often look like toys to start with. And that's true of a lot of stuff I've done. When I started Draft, it was actually a to-do list. I mean, it's writing software that a lot of people are familiar with, but it started off as a to-do list that I was trying to make kind of doing a to-do list more fun. It had a lot of sound effects, and you'd get points that completing to-dos that you could then use to look at things like Twitter. There was like kind of like this allowance you'd get for being kind of completing things that you could then use to buy distractions, which again, I think all of this stuff is interesting, but it was a toy. But it allowed me to kind of fool with things that were important in my life. And as I was fooling with it, it was like, wait a minute, no. Writing is the most important thing. And so it kind of morphed into something else. But I think this is a very good example. Like what I envision is simply something, it's almost like a toy. It's a little utility. Maybe we'll get some use out of it. My goal is to get some use out of it, Highrise, and maybe it'll morph into something more important, better. Let me just, so I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm working on it in the infant stages. I'll show you code I put together, design, even no matter how terrible it looks, I'm gonna open it up on this channel so that you can see it. It's not gonna be this like step-by-step tutorial about how to make a new application, but I'm hoping I can edit it so it's a little succinct enough that you'll get value out of it. You won't hate watching, because it's not gonna take an hour every episode to watch me, figure out how to code something. But maybe, even from beginner learning how to make a Rails app to someone who's just kind of looking at my thought process to kind of design and making products, will get something out of watching these videos. I'm gonna try. Let's see how this works. To give you some more context about what I'm trying to work on, it's something I call VIP. And it addresses this problem. There's a guy who, I won't get into the specifics of who he was. He signed up for Highrise a bit ago. It was someone whose name I'm familiar with. A lot of people are familiar with it. Probably everybody watching this is probably familiar with this guy's name. A guy, he writes multiple books, and a really interesting influencer, and would be an interesting kind of use case and person, pushing their use of Highrise. I think I emailed him early on. I had bumped into the fact that he had created an account. I don't even know how. We do use this Slack channel where we push new account names, so we kind of keep a little bit of track, like maybe a company who's signing up, maybe will cross our radar. Well, this guy's name crossed my radar. I think I maybe emailed him a personal note that was like, hey, do you need anything? Can I help out? And I never kept up after that. And it's not good. Like, I feel like I should have followed up. There were other avenues of contacting the guy. I could have reached out to, I know a friend of mine, he's an investor in a friend of mine's company. I could have reached out and been like, hey, can you introduce me? I could have maybe just followed up over email. I could have followed up over Twitter. There's multiple things I could have done to kind of seal a better relationship with this person. You might ask, well, like, why didn't I just use Highrise follow-ups? I mean, I could have. I mean, this is the thing where it's just like, well, there's a lot of moving parts. One was, the first part was like even recognizing that this person and other people like him, this is just one example. There's countless other people that are signing up for Highrise who I don't even see because I'm not paying attention, that aren't called out to me. And that's not something that's not something that Highrise really does, because this is more of kind of an analytics tool kind of feature. But the second part of just kind of following up with people and staying good about trying to keep a relationship alive. I mean, Highrise does have a big facet of that. A lot of people use Highrise to do things like, hey, remind me to follow up with someone every few months to keep a relationship alive. But again, this is something more specific about, you can do that in Highrise, but it's much more manual. It's much more like, well, what is the flow that works for you? Do you need to stay in touch with your customers every 2 weeks, or do you need to stay in touch with your customers every 3 months? I think there's a flow to maybe creating a relationship with a new influencer who just signed up for your SaaS product. that maybe has a golden path. And again, I'm talking about like SaaS products. Maybe this is going to be useful for some other businesses, but I think there's going to be a niche here that resembles like a company like mine, a software startup who there's a bunch of people coming in the door who are pretty anonymous to you unless you really dig into who they are, who's signing up for this thing. So I kind of want to de-anonymize some of these signups and provide some kind of an automated flow of like, hey, follow up with them. Oh, hey, he didn't reply, she didn't reply, maybe take it to the next step. Use this other channel to try to get a hold of them, maybe. That's kind of the gist. Not really to replace Highrise. You could use Highrise a little bit, but for me in this particular situation, because Highrise gets so many signups, I kind of need to automate it a little bit more. Here's kind of what it would look like. Maybe. This was a rough sketch I put together the other day. The big gist is there's going to be a feed of people who are coming into Highrise, and obviously, you know, we get an email address, and there's tools like Clearbit that I could use to kind of sniff out. Snuff is not good. Snuff means to kill, I think. Don't snuff out these people who are signing up for Highrise. Sniff out their details, you know, but like I could grab a picture of them. This is an area now, I want this to kind of influence, you know, like, I think I could also pull like a Klout score, right? That's kind of tells me a little bit, Klout is a company that kind of tells me a little bit about how well they're doing on like social media. That's kind of an influencer thing, right? People who could move the needle for us in terms of spreading Highrise probably have bigger Klout scores than other people. Let's say John has a decent Klout score, and he triggers his event to kind of show up in this list. Okay, so John is someone who I kind of want to look at more. And then maybe this is going to tell me a little bit about what John is writing about. Like maybe these are articles or tweets or something we can surmise again from the internet of like what John is interested in. And maybe if I get really fancy, if there's a lot of stuff obviously that John is probably interested in, right? A lot of articles he's writing, stuff he's tweeting, maybe we can get really fancy and kind of come up with some machine learning that knows what Nate likes to talk about and figure out where John and Nate have some similarities, right? So maybe there's some sort of sweet little spot here of things that I can pull from John's profile that'll get Nate's attention. Like, oh, Nate and John, he just tweeted about Malcolm Gladwell. Maybe you could say something about this versus like, oh, John just tweeted about like some soccer finals. Well, I don't watch soccer. I probably am not going to have anything to say about John's watching of soccer. But so maybe there's something interesting here about being able to tease out stuff that I actually do have a chance of replying to or saying, you know, kind of tapping into. And that's interesting to me. Just that alone is interesting to me. Other things about the golden path I've talked about, maybe it's like, well, you know, let's email John, right? Let's start with an email. And if I don't get any follow-up, you know, maybe this thing alerts me and becomes red, like, hey, Nate, John hasn't followed up in 1 week or 2 weeks. Well, then maybe, you know, there's Twitter, you know, there's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, you know, to try and find some kind of, you know, I could message him on LinkedIn, or I could find some sort of a friend of a friend. And again, like, this is all like, I don't know how this LinkedIn thing would work. All I know is like LinkedIn, they've got like a lockdown API. You know, maybe this is simple. Maybe this isn't going to be very valuable inside another app. You know, maybe this is simply just an alerting mechanism. Like that's like, hey, you emailed John, he hasn't replied. What do you want to do? And then none of this stuff actually exists in the app, Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, but it's like, you know, you're gonna just have to kind of do this on your own. You know, maybe come in here and be like, okay, I tweeted him, set an alert now, like, you know, snooze John for another 1 week or something. Maybe there's like a really nice golden path there of like, okay, I've tweeted at him again, let's snooze it for a week before I kind of elevate it to like LinkedIn. That's it, that's kind of the gist. My thought process is this whole feed here is gonna kind of just be generated by just dropping in some, you know, script, a little bit of JavaScript into the Highrise app, and that's it. I dropped the script in here, you know, I set new people's email address, you know, email equals john@gmail.com, and it just because this is inside Highrise, the app, the VIP app here above is just getting this, right? This is just almost like Google Analytics, and like this is just gonna get generated from whatever, you know, data is coming in here inside Highrise. So that's it. The whole goal of this is to stay very focused. It's all about trying to make relationships with the new people who are coming into the app. You know, maybe I can add them manually. And maybe there's some other stuff that kind of comes out of this. So that's where I'm gonna leave this vlog episode, just to kind of give you a picture of some future episodes I wanna kind of show off about building this thing. I already started building this, and I'll just kind of show you the steps I take to kind of building and designing it. I mean, it looks awful right now, but I think something could come out of this. It could be a little bit interesting, I'm not sure. But I might as well kind of show you what I'm thinking, kind of fleshing this thing out. And so stay tuned for later episodes of me fleshing this out. I hope you dig it. I hope this is interesting. If there's problems or challenges you have with this, please comment away. If you think this is a stupid idea, someone else is doing it, I'd love to keep talking about it. I know there's people that have kind of concepts of kind of elevating people who have higher clout scores in their CRMs or in their messaging tools. That's fine. The thing though, already the defense I would apply to that is like, I know that. I want this thing to be a singular tool with a singular focus. I don't want this thing to be about bulk email. I don't want this thing to be about help, like support. Like I'm not gonna be, this isn't about inbound, like, oh, John sent in a support request. I mean, all of that stuff is very important, and maybe this data is gonna have to get into a CRM or help desk or something else. But for now, this is all about like, John signed up. How can I make a better contact with John than just sending an email being like, hey, saw you sign up for Highrise. How can I help? So that's it. I'll show you more about the app later. If you dig these videos, just let me know too in the comments. If this is valuable, let me know. If you have questions about what I'm doing, let me know. Anything. Free for all. Those comments, free for all. Just chat away. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. And if you dig these videos, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you tomorrow.